I would like to begin by announcing some important developments in our war against the Chinese virus.
Why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus? There are reports of dozens of incidents of bias against Chinese Americans in this country. Your own aide, Secretary Azar, says he does not use this term. He says ethnicity does not cause the virus. Why do you keep using this? A lot of people say it's
China.
Racist.
It's not racist at all. No, not at all. It comes from China. That's
China admitted they had a problem.
Health authorities have activated their most serious response level
after an outbreak of a new type of viral pneumonia
in central China.
A rapidly growing number of people were developing a dry cough and fever before getting pneumonia. And for some, it turned fatal. Doctors have named the disease COVID-19, or coronavirus disease 2019, indicating that a type of virus is causing the illness. When they tried to trace its origin, they found a likely source: this food market in Wuhan. Out of the first 41 patients, 27 had been here. It wasn't conclusive evidence, but Chinese officials quickly shut down the market. They had seen this happen before at a place just like this.
It comes from China. Nothing. No. I don't think. I know where it came from. I don't know if you'd say China's to blame. Certainly we didn't get an early run on it. It would have been helpful if we knew about it earlier.
System, the global
China isn't blamed for this global pandemic to present itself as a responsible player. And if the Chinese government says it was the Americans that started it, this is a message that will go over the Chinese government hopes well at home to basically say, look, if there were any problems, it wasn't our fault. It was the Americans who spread the disease.
I don't think. I know where it came from. I don't know if you'd say China's to blame. Certainly we didn't get an early run on it. It would have been helpful if we knew about it earlier.
这是对中国搞污名化，我们对此强烈愤慨，坚决反对。我们敦促美方立即纠正错误，立即停止对中国的无端指责。
Originated at a research facility not far from the Wuhan fish market. These labs are known to contain disease-ridden animals, including hundreds of bats. Our Kim Hyo-sun with the detail.
It's stated that while it's plausible the virus was leaked from the lab and contaminated initial patients in this epidemic, the possibility that the disastrous outbreak could be the accidental result of biological weapons research. Xu Jianren is known to be missing after publicly condemning Chinese President Xi Jinping for failing to contain the spread of the virus at an early stage. He even added the condemnation could be the last message of his life.
coronavirus have surfaced. The most notable one is by a Chinese virologist named Shi Zhengli, the head of the Wuhan Institute of Virology. This institute happens to be located at the epicenter of the coronavirus. Dr. Shi was among the first to publish the genome sequencing of the SARS-CoV-2 virus found in Wuhan. In 2015, Dr. Shi Zhengli's team published a paper in the British journal Nature Medicine. Their conclusion, as stated on the paper, is they synthetically re-derived an infectious full-length SHCO14 recombinant virus and demonstrated robust viral replication both in vitro and in vivo. However, the coronaviruses within bats cannot be transmitted to humans. Dr. Shi combined a highly pathogenic coronavirus from bats with the SARS virus. The result was a new virus that was more pathogenic than SARS and can be transmitted to humans. The article was highly controversial in the medical field. Dr. Shi and another Chinese researcher were originally part of an international research project to research the coronavirus in wild bats. Several American institutions also took part in the research. Yet the result was that this new pathogen was accidentally synthesized. The American government called the termination of this research because of the risks of the new pathogen to the public. However, we're not entirely sure if Dr. Shi Zhengli terminated her side of the research. January 20, Oxford University claimed that they found a coronavirus in some exotic animals that was 99% similar to the SARS-CoV-2. They claimed those animals, pangolins, could be the intermediate host between bats and humans. That is, the virus could have jumped from bats to pangolins and finally to humans. They added, the small sample of pangolins was not captured in the wild, but obtained from the institute. Of course, the institution was not named.
Can't be done without teamwork.
That in March 2019, a mysterious shipment of exceptionally deadly viruses from the Canadian lab ended up in China.
She and the team at the National Microbiology Lab have been praised for developing an Ebola vaccine. But just over a week ago, Chu, her husband, and her students from China were evicted from Canada's only Level 4 lab, their security access revoked. Staff at the lab was told last Monday the couple is on leave and not to communicate with them.
We know Jiango Chu is a medical doctor and virologist from Tianjin, China. She came to Canada for graduate studies in 1996. She's still affiliated with universities there and has brought in many students over the years to help with her work. Chu's husband, Keating Chang, works at the Winnipeg lab as a biologist. He's published research papers on other coronaviruses, including SARS. We have reported that scientists at the National Microbiology Lab sent live Ebola and Henipa viruses to Beijing on an Air Canada flight last March.
This was something that happened that was, some people would say an act of God. I don't view it as an act of God. I would view it as
addressing the issue as a means of covering their tracks.
A scare tonight at Canada's top biohazard lab located here in Winnipeg. A worker was potentially exposed to the Ebola virus. CTV's John Hendricks has the details on how it happened and how the worker is being treated.
At the National Center for Foreign Animal Disease in Winnipeg, researchers work with some of the deadliest pathogens in the world. Strict protocols are in place to protect workers from exposure. But on Monday, a lab worker may have been exposed to the deadly Ebola virus.
The employee was working with pigs that had been experimentally exposed to Ebola virus and noticed a split in the seam of the protective suit.
Lab director Dr. John Copps says the protective suit was new and is supposed to be checked at least once a week to ensure all seams are fine. He can't say how the suit was breached.
Well, that would be speculation. The person is handling pigs walking around the cubicle, so the animal pen, so we don't know how it split.
Emergency procedures were taken immediately to assess the risk to the employee. The worker has voluntarily gone into isolation and will spend the next 21 days being monitored for symptoms.
At this point, there is no risk to Canadians, to the community, or to other employees of the lab.
That's because the Ebola virus is spread through direct contact with the blood or other bodily fluids of someone infected with Ebola.
I'd say that the risk to the general public is zero, and we've been preparing for such an eventuality for many years. So if it happens, we're ready.
Reports say that in March 2019, a mysterious shipment of exceptionally deadly viruses from the Canadian lab ended up in China. Scientists from Canada said the viruses were potential bioweapons. 4 months later, a group of Chinese virologists, later called Chinese agents, were expelled from this lab. The virus can be traced back to Canada, and that 2 Chinese agents smuggled the coronavirus from Canada to China.
this horrible virus, and it's too bad. It's too bad.
To promote policies that appear to be addressing the issue as a means of covering their tracks.